You know what's worse than watching a Vegas icon die? Watching it rot while everyone pretends it's still alive. The Luxor pyramid isn't just declining, it's literally falling apart from the inside. We're talking bed bugs so bad they hospitalized a guest, electrical shocks causing brain damage, and structural columns unfinished since the 90s. This is what happens when corporate greed literally eats a building alive. The Egyptian dream that Vegas murdered. Let me paint you a picture of what we lost here. Back in '93, the Luxor wasn't just another casino. It was a freaking archaeological adventure in the middle of the desert. You walk through those doors and boom, you're in ancient Egypt. We're talking a literal riverboat floating through the casino, hieroglyphics everywhere, King Tut's tomb you could actually explore. The whole ground floor was designed like an archaeological dig site, complete with artifacts, statues, and these wild soundscapes of wind and chanting. You'd hop on this boat, not some cheesy ride, but an actual floating vessel, and cruise past waterfalls and palm trees to different parts of the resort. Even the rooms had this Egyptian vibe going on. Not overdone, but enough to make you feel like you weren't in some generic Marriott. Then 2007 rolled around, and MGM decided fun was dead. They ripped out 80% of the Egyptian theming faster than you can say quarterly earnings report. The Nile River? Drained. Those hieroglyphics that took artists months to create. Painted over with beige. Freaking beige! King Tut's tomb became a nightclub, because apparently that's what focus groups wanted. One former employee who worked there from day one until 2010 spilled the tea on Reddit, saying management straight up told them theming was dead. What they really meant was, cheap is the new black. And get this, the de-theming didn't even work. TripAdvisor reviews from 2008 and 2009 are packed with people asking the same heartbreaking question. Where did Egypt go? Guest satisfaction tanked, repeat visitors vanished, and the Luxor became just another soulless, pyramid-shaped Holiday Inn with slot machines. But here's where it gets really twisted. MGM didn't see this as failure. They saw it as the first step in their master plan to milk this property dry. The structural nightmare nobody's talking about. Here's something that'll make your skin crawl. Since 2010, the Luxor has been standing on unfinished foundation columns. Not damaged, not cracked, literally never completed during construction. We're talking about support columns in the basement of a 30-story glass pyramid that were left half done in the early 90s. Engineers discovered this disaster waiting to happen during routine inspections in 2010. Think about that for a second. You're sleeping 20 stories up in a building where the foundation wasn't even properly finished. Let me explain why this is absolutely insane from an engineering perspective. The Luxor pyramid isn't your typical building. It's 350 feet tall, with slanted walls that create massive lateral forces. Every single support column has to handle not just vertical weight, but these crazy sideways pressures. When you leave columns unfinished, you're basically playing Jenga with people's lives. The original construction in 1993 cost $375 million, and somehow they still cut corners on the foundation. We're talking about columns that were supposed to be reinforced with specific amounts of rebar, concrete of exact specifications, all engineered to handle Nevada's seismic activity. Yeah, that's right. Vegas sits near several fault lines. The building code requires structures to withstand certain levels of earthquake activity. But with unfinished columns, all bets are off. A moderate quake could turn this pyramid into the world's largest pile of black glass. What did MGM do about it? They slapped some band-aids on it, threw some rebar and concrete at the worst parts and called it good enough. But here's what good enough means in structural engineering terms. The patches they applied in 2010 weren't designed to last forever. Concrete repairs have a lifespan. Rebar corrodes, especially in the desert where temperature swings are extreme. The patches expand and contract differently than the original concrete, creating new stress points. We're now 14 years past those emergency repairs. Any structural engineer will tell you that's way past the inspection interval for critical repairs. Good enough. Those two words should be carved into every MGM executive's tombstone. That's been their entire philosophy for the Luxor since day one of this mess. Good enough to avoid immediate collapse. Good enough to pass a rigged inspection. Good enough to keep collecting rent while the building slowly crumbles. but definitely not good enough to actually maintain an iconic Vegas landmark. Industry insiders have whispered about this for years. Construction workers who've done maintenance there talk about cracks in places that shouldn't have cracks, weird noises in the lower levels during windstorms, doors that won't close properly because the frames have shifted. These aren't just cosmetic issues we're talking about here. This is the literal foundation of a massive pyramid that millions of people walk through every year. The Luxor sees about 3 million visitors annually. That's 8,200 people per day walking around in a structurally compromised building. And the scariest part? Nobody knows how bad it really is. Because when you split ownership between companies that both profit from doing nothing, nobody's incentivized to dig deeper. A proper structural assessment would cost millions. It might reveal problems that cost tens of millions to fix properly. Or worse, it might reveal the building needs to be condemned. So instead, everyone plays dumb and hopes for the best. The structural reports from 2010 were never fully made public. The extent of the repairs remains a mystery. Clark County Building Department records show permits for maintenance, but no major structural work. That tells you everything you need to know about how seriously they're taking this. All we know is that 14 years later, this pyramid is still standing on a foundation that was never properly completed. Every day that passes without proper repairs is another roll of the dice with people's lives. The bedbug horror show that sent guests to the hospital. If you thought structural issues were bad, buckle up for this nightmare. In 2024, a guest didn't just find bedbugs. They were literally eaten alive to the point of hospitalization. The lawsuit filed shows photos that'll haunt your dreams. Arms, legs, torso, all covered in angry red welts that required actual medical intervention. This wasn't someone being dramatic about a few bug bites. This person developed infections so severe they needed hospital treatment. And here's the sick part. This wasn't even isolated. Dig through reviews from 2023 and 2024, and you'll find a pattern that'll make your stomach turn. One review from July 2024 said they found bed bugs on night 2, switched rooms, and found more bugs in the new room. The front desk's solution? A $50 resort credit. $50 for being eaten alive by parasites. That's not compensation. That's a middle finger disguised as customer service. Another guest reported the same issue, switched rooms 3 times, and still found bed bugs. Management told them, housekeeping will take care of it. Spoiler alert, they didn't. Here's what people don't understand about bedbug infestations. They don't happen overnight. They spread slowly, methodically, room by room, floor by floor. The only way they get this bad is through complete systemic neglect. Housekeeping isn't checking, maintenance isn't treating, and management simply doesn't give a damn. When you're charging $60 a night and your MGM's bargain basement option, why spend money on pest control? Just throw resort credits at the problem until people stop complaining or stop coming altogether. These aren't just uncomfortable nights we're talking about. Bed bugs can cause serious psychological trauma, not to mention the medical bills, the ruined vacations, the fear of bringing them home. But in the Luxor's twisted economics, guest suffering is just another line item on a spreadsheet. As long as the lawsuits cost less than proper maintenance, the bugs keep winning. The electrical shock that scrambled someone's brain. Now we get to the lawsuit that should have shut this place down. January 2025, a guest files a claim for an incident from November 2023. They got electrocuted so badly in their room, it caused permanent brain damage. We're not talking about a little static shock here. This person's life was fundamentally altered by faulty wiring that should have been caught in any basic safety inspection. The lawsuit alleges the wiring hadn't been properly maintained for years, that inspections either didn't happen or someone signed off without actually checking anything. Think about what that means. How many thousands of guests have stayed in rooms with potentially lethal wiring? How many close calls happened that we never heard about? How many people got zapped but didn't realize they could sue? This is what happens when you run a property on good enough maintenance. When you split ownership so nobody's truly accountable. The victim claims neurological damage, the kind that doesn't heal. The kind that changes who you are as a person. And here's the truly sick part. This incident happened in 2023, but the lawsuit wasn't filed until 2025. That's over a year of medical bills, treatments, and life adjustments before taking legal action. Why the delay? Maybe they hoped to settle quietly. Maybe they needed time to document the extent of the damage. Or maybe they were just another working-class person who couldn't afford a lawyer until the damage became undeniable. This is the human cost of corporate negligence that never makes it into quarterly reports. The shell game. How two companies profit while the Luxor dies. Here's where the story gets really dirty. In 2022, MGM sold the Luxor building to Vici Properties for $17.2 billion, but kept operating it under a lease. It's like selling your house but continuing to live there as a renter. Sounds weird? That's because it's designed to be confusing. Let me break down this scam in terms everyone can understand. MGM was sitting on $11 billion in debt and needed cash fast, so they sold their real estate to Vici, a REIT that specializes in gaming properties. But here's the kicker. MGM still runs everything day to day. They're paying Vici about $600 million a year in rent across all properties. For the Luxor specifically, we're talking roughly $30 to $40 million annually. MGM runs the casino and hotel operations, but doesn't own the building. Vici owns the building, but doesn't run the operations. This creates what finance bros call asset-light operations. What it really creates is a responsibility black hole where nobody's accountable for anything. When bed bugs infest the rooms, that's MGM's problem. When structural columns need repair, that's Vici's problem. Except here's the beautiful scam. Neither company actually has to fix anything. They can just point fingers at each other while collecting their profits. The lease agreement is probably 500 pages of legal gymnastics. Every possible issue has been lawyered into oblivion. Bed bugs? That's operational maintenance. Structural failure? That's capital improvements. Each side has armies of attorneys ready to argue why any given problem isn't their responsibility. Meanwhile, guests are getting electrocuted and hospitalized. MGM doesn't want to invest in a building they don't own. Why upgrade electrical systems or fix foundations when you're just a tenant? From MGM's perspective, every dollar spent on the Luxor is a dollar not going to properties they actually own. They're incentivized to milk it for cash while spending absolute minimum on upkeep. Vici doesn't care about guest experience because they're not in the hotel business. As long as MGM keeps paying rent, the property is performing perfectly. Vici's investors don't care if people are happy. They care about dividend yields. The company's stock price doesn't move based on TripAdvisor reviews. It moves based on rental income and occupancy rates. As long as those numbers look good on paper, the rot can spread unchecked. This model has infected the entire strip. Caesars did the same thing, selling to Vici and leasing back. Station casinos, same deal with different REITs. The entire Vegas economy is being financialized into oblivion. This is financial engineering at its most cynical. Both companies extract maximum value while investing minimum resources. Think about the incentive structure here. MGM makes money from gambling and hotel fees, short-term cash flows. Vici makes money from rent, guaranteed monthly payments. Neither makes money from maintaining the building properly. In fact, they both make more money by cutting maintenance. MGM reduces expenses. Vici avoids capital costs. The timeline tells the whole sick story. 2007. Detheming begins. Guest satisfaction crashes. 2010. Structural problems discovered. Band-Aid fixes applied. 2021. MGM announces the sale to Vici. 2022. Sale completes. Split ownership begins. 2023 to 2024. Complaints explode. Bed bugs, electrical issues, sewage smells. 2024. First bed bug hospitalization lawsuit. 2025. Brain damage, electrical shock lawsuit. But here's data that really shows the scam. MGM's maintenance spending per square foot has dropped 40% since the sale. Vici's capital improvement budget for Luxor? Basically non-existent. They'll tell shareholders it's MGM's responsibility. MGM tells shareholders it's Vici's building. Both companies' stock prices have gone up, while the building falls apart. See the pattern? Every step toward financial optimization is another step away from basic human decency. The Luxor isn't dying by accident. It's being methodically harvested for profit. Wall Street loves this model because it's capital efficient. What they mean is, it's efficient at extracting capital from a dying asset. Like vultures picking bones clean. Except the bones still have people inside them. The human cost of Vegas's race to the bottom. Let's talk about who's really paying for this disaster. These aren't rich kids slumming it for Instagram stories. The people staying at the Luxor are retirees on fixed incomes, trying to relive their honeymoons. Families who saved all year for one Vegas vacation. Working folks who remember when Vegas was affordable and fun. They're choosing the Luxor because Vegas has priced them out of everywhere else. Read these actual reviews from the last 2 years and try not to get angry. Stayed 3 nights. AC didn't work. Complained twice. Never fixed. Room smelled like sewage. Asked to change. They said fully booked. Elevator broke twice in 1 day. Had to take stairs from 15th floor. I'm 73 years old. Paid $65 a night and got what I paid for. Dirty, loud, depressing. These aren't entitled complainers. These are people who just wanted a clean room and a working toilet. The Luxor couldn't even give them that basic dignity. And it's not just about comfort. It's about safety. When you're worried about getting electrocuted in your shower or bringing bed bugs home to your kids, that's not a vacation. That's a horror movie you paid to star in. These guests aren't asking for luxury. They're asking for the absolute bare minimum of hospitality. A bed without parasites. Wiring that won't kill them. Air that doesn't smell like sewage. The fact that the Luxor can't deliver even this shows how broken the system really is. Why this matters. The death of authentic Vegas. The Luxor's collapse isn't just about one property. It's a warning sign for everything Vegas is becoming. REITs are gobbling up properties across the Strip. They're turning casinos into financial instruments, experiences into spreadsheet cells. These trusts are publicly traded, answering to Wall Street, not Main Street. Shareholders want quarterly returns, not preserved landmarks or happy guests. When everything's about stock prices, nothing's about people anymore. The magic dies, replaced by bare minimum profit extraction. Look around the Strip, and you'll see it everywhere. Generic resorts replacing themed experiences. Corporate efficiency crushing local character. Every property starting to look and feel exactly the same. Vegas used to be about escape, about stepping into another world. Now it's about squeezing every penny from whoever shows up. The Luxor Pyramid still lights up the night sky, sure, but it's a hollow beacon, warning us what happens when finance bros run the show. This is bigger than bedbugs or bad wiring. This is about losing the last affordable pieces of what made Vegas special. When even the cheap options are dangerous and degrading, where do regular people go? When every property is optimized for extraction instead of experience, what's left? The zombie casino that won't die. Here's the brutal truth. The Luxor is already dead. It's just that nobody's had the decency to bury it yet. The lights are on, the slots are ringing, but there's no soul left. It's a zombie property, shambling through each day, spreading decay to anyone who enters. MGM won't fix it because they don't own it. Vici won't fix it because they don't operate it. Both companies will keep collecting their checks until the lawsuits exceed the revenue. Then they'll finally pull the plug and blame each other. When that day comes, nobody's going to shed a tear. We've been watching this slow-motion demolition for over a decade. The Luxor could have been preserved as a Vegas icon. Instead, it became a case study in corporate greed. You can still book a room there for $60 a night if you're feeling lucky. Just remember, you're gambling with bedbugs, electrical shocks, and structural integrity. The Luxor's collapse is a perfect metaphor for what's happening to all of Vegas. We're watching an entire city trade its soul for quarterly earnings. If you remember when the Luxor was actually special, drop a comment below. Share your memories before they're all we have left. And if you want more truth about how this city's really dying, hit that subscribe button. Because somebody needs to document this disaster, and it sure won't be the companies profiting from it.